Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. Today we're back with the vampire counts, and oh man, I've never actually looked inside of a corpse cart. That's really disturbing. Let's go ahead and focus on Kemmler, because somehow his apron is less disturbing. I'm going to be taking the vampire counts against the Norskins, so let's get to it. I'm actually battling good old Indie Pride and Milk and Cookies Total War. If you guys live under a rock and don't know who he is, definitely check his channel out. But yeah, probably all of you know who he is. Anyway, Vampire Counts versus Norsca. Let's get to the builds here. We've got a couple Blood Knights, one on each flank. Varix Reavers with the Dire Pack in the center. Of course, Kemmler going to be leading the way. And the Triplex Axes, I think I'm pronouncing that right, Vampires. We've got front line of the Skeleton Spearmen acting as the Hastati. The Principe are going to be the Skeleton Warriors. And the Triari will be the Grave Guard. For the Norskins, you can see we've got some Marauder Horsemen, some Throwing Axes over here. In the center, we've got Throg, Troll King, strong pick in this matchup, Marauders, and some Marauder Champions. Champions are pretty solid here as well. Famir Great Weapons, nothing wrong with that, and the Soul Crusher. He's also got a unit of champions in the back line as well. So without further ado, let's get the battle underway. You can see these Marauder Horsemen coming up to pitch their axes at the Blood Knights. I'm going to go ahead and just pull the Blood Knights further into the interior of this nice wide vampire formation, where they will be more or less protected. And in fact, we're going to switch the Varix Reavers out to that left flank. Because they have the regeneration, I'm not too worried about them taking a whole bunch of throwing axes. In fact, I would be quite happy for them to be able to soak some of that damage rather than it going on something else. I mean, granted, it would be ideal to soak it on one of those skeleton spears, but Indie Pride would pretty much have to let me do that. So anyway, you can see just all fronts going to be pushing up. The Marauder Horsemen with the javelins over on the far side, not really moving in too close, but certainly in a position to do some harassing. You can see the Varix Reavers are pulling in. They're, of course, going to take some damage on the pursuit. They do have missile block chance, but I thought maybe I could hit my charge speed, be able to catch those Marauder Horsemen. Unfortunately, we are not quite able to do so. We do get pretty close, but meanwhile, the frontline engagement is getting underway. Marauder's going to be duking it out with skeletons, and of course, Marauders will cut through skeletons all day. Graveguard are another matter, but the Soul Crusher is going to come in here and start crushing some skulls. Yeah, anyway, that reminds me, Skull Crushers, not Soul Crushers, but Skull Crushers, like the things that the Khorne champions ride. Super excited for in Game 3, but anyway, Blood Knights charging through, getting in on the Mammoth here. You can see I'm going very aggressively after this Mammoth here. We're actually then going to switch targets and try and take advantage of that extra charge bonus to go after the Famir with Great Weapons here. They're another kind of elite choice. The Varix Reavers come charging in from the back, but you can see Vampire Infantry already starting to crumble in the front line. And meanwhile, over here on the right, Skeletons crumbling. The Graveguard should be able to hold things up, but where's Krell? There he is. Krell getting summoned up in the middle of these Famir is just going to start felling them left and right. He just took that one down, no problem. Let's see if he turns his attention over to this next one here. Come on, Krell. Don't let the Blood Knights get all the glory. I guess he's going to let the Blood Knights get all the glory. Anyway, Krell's going to be very key here with his anti-large AP, and the Terror as well is super strong. You can see the Famir were actually terrified momentarily there. That allowed the Blood Knights to kind of chase them away from their infantry support, and now they're going to start taking even more damage. So rough stuff. You can see Throg's come through. He's starting to beat on the corpse cart, which is a pretty good plan. Granted, Throg's going to have to be careful. He's only got 55 armor, so the Blood Knights will be able to do a number on him. The Varix Reaver is going to be getting a nice rear charge here, just impacting the Marauders. And the issue with the Marauders is that even the Champions are going to have a rough time here, just because they're completely surrounded. You can see we've been able to buckle all of the supporting infantry here, so that Throg, the Mammoth, and these Famir are all isolated. That being said, the Mammoth is trying to break Kemmler's face, and Kemmler's face is not very comfortable right now. He's hurting, and that miscast didn't help. He just kind of blew himself up right there. And the Overcast Stance Macabre is certainly useful. It'll help all my units get a ton of damage done, but Kemmler is all of a sudden in a really bad position. The Dire Pack, which had been on a wild goose chase going after those javelins, came back and are going to come in and actually do a ton of damage to Throg with the Blood Knights. They have a pretty solid charge bonus of 24. Not the best weapon strength, but of course that anti-large bonus does count for something, and Throg's light armor means that he'll take some solid damage from them. So a Dire Pack coming in being super cost effective. Krell, meanwhile, is just chopping away at the ankles of this this Mammoth here, pretty much like Legolas in the Return of the King when he's like slicing up that Mumakil's legs. But anyway, Krell going to be pushing Throg off here. Throg is spooked. He is terrified by Krell, and who can blame him? I mean, just look at that guy. Look at him towering over those other skeletons. Man, Krell's huge. I never realized how massive he is. Holy crap. Anyway, with that, it's pretty much going to be GG. Not sure where the Mammoth got off to. Here he is, being chased by the 2 units of Blood Knights. Just very bad situation. The Famir have regrouped over here, and I believe they're maybe going to try and support, but yeah, this pocket for the Norscan still holding out quite well. Obviously, there's champions, there's Famir with grey weapons here, and more. They are holding out admirably. But this Mammoth's actually just going to straight up go down here, and then some of the Blood Knights are going to go ahead and countercharge onto the Famir here, who, because they're so low, and they have no support whatsoever, they'll take a lot of shock damage because of the high charge bonus of the Blood Knights. And even though the Blood Knights don't have AP per se, they do have pretty good AP values and anti-large of 22, so yeah, those Famir are in for a bad time. You can see the last pocket of Norscan resistance is still holding for the moment, but we'll see. Let's fast forward a little bit through this late game as the Famir with grey weapons and the champions here still holding up, but it's just a matter of time before the Blood Knights come. And one final glorious rear charge. I have to say, I freaking love Blood Knights right now. They are so, so good. And being partial to elite tier heavy cavalry myself, Blood Knights being what they should be makes me very, very happy. So, very well played to Indie Pride. Hope you guys enjoyed watching that one. Yeah, in terms of the battle there, the Famir on the one side ended up doing quite well along with the champions that they were supporting. The other flank just got collapsed super hard. I overloaded that side with all 3 units of cavalry, plus Krell, of course, to provide the terror bombing. And we also have ended up eventually putting the Dire Pack over there and more, so I just went heavily on that side to try and just crush things out. We were able to take down the one Famir without too much fuss. Soul Crusher did end up taking Kemmler down. I didn't quite catch that. Kemmler did expire, unfortunately, through the match, but Krell able to carry the Vampire Counts to victory there. Throg just getting taken down by Blood Knights. Pretty rough. Throg's good in this matchup, but he is pretty vulnerable to Blood Knights because of his relatively low armor. So, you know, Wolfric's also pretty good in this matchup. Honestly, either of them is probably a good pick. I don't know that I would necessarily know who's better, but the Mammoths, in Game 1, these guys were super good against the Vampire Counts, but things have changed. The Vampire Counts have a lot more tools to deal with armored monsters than they used to. Blood Knights are also much better against armored monsters than they used to be because they got an AP buff in one of the recent patches. Pretty much all of the Old World Cav got an AP buff at some point over the course of Total War Warhammer 2 because none of them had enough AP to begin with because there's so much armor in Game 2. Especially with big monsters and stuff. So yeah, the Blood Knights being better, and just in general, Terror Guys are good now, whereas in Game 1 they really weren't. Krell is just an absolute powerhouse, and Kemmler even himself is, I think, a bit better as well. So yeah, I definitely think that times have changed. The Vampire Counts have a lot of tools now to be able to deal with big monsters, especially big armored monsters. So yeah, I mean, the Mammoth would have been a good pick, but unfortunately right now Mammoths are just kind of not in a great place. They have a lot of health, but their hitbox is so big, and I don't know, they can get a lot of damage done, certainly, but just for how expensive they are and for how big of a target they are, I really feel like it's tough to make them pay for themselves. I mean, you can, certainly, but it's pretty tough. The champions, I do like the pick of that quite a bit here, even though a couple of them were taken down pretty hard. I do think that this matchup, while previously it was very favorable for Norsca in Game 1, I do think that that's changed somewhat, and I think it might even be in the Vampire Count's favor now. Just in terms of Indy's build here, I might go with a more Famir. Cut this Mammoth. I mean, it's a nice idea, but Mammoths are just not very good right now. So cut the Mammoth and just grab a couple more Famir with great weapons. Suddenly this build gets a lot scarier. You need something to be able to deal with the Blood Knights. I guess Indy didn't really bring a caster as well, which is a bit odd, but Shadow Balefiend is very good here. I mean, a Fire Balefiend is also a solid pick, but yeah, if we go with Norsca here, Shadow Balefiend, I think, is probably the one you want to go with. The reason being, I mean, the fire is nice for taking down Terrorgeist and things like that, and in fact, Fireball might be a decent pick here with the Famir Balefiend, but the reason why I recommend the Shadow Balefiend, specifically to go up against the type of build that I brought there, is Melkoth's Mystifying Miasma is going to be really good for keeping the Blood Knights from just cycle charging you to death. If you can get them with a Melkoth, and when they try and pull away, you can follow up with your Famir, use other units to try and take them down. If you layer this on top of, like, if you get a Frostbite on them from the many units that have Frostbite on the Norscan roster, they're going to be immobilized more or less. So I really like that specific spell here. Enfeebling Foe is also really nice for, like, if you're up against like a Terrorgeist or the Red Duke on a dragon, or just a big high value target. Even Krell would be a good target for Enfeebling Foe, just to nerf his melee stats. And Penumbral Pendulum is also really nice for clearing out a vampire front line. So this loadout here I think would be pretty solid to take for a caster. The Fire Balefiend also might be a good option as well if you take something like Fireball. Cascading Fire Cloak's always nice to have as well. Flaming Sword of Ruin, Burning Head, pretty tough to choose sometimes, but Burning Head could be pretty decent for roasting out a lot of chaff. And Norsca is one of those factions that really can't play the attrition game. You have to be able to win quickly. So the shock damage and the leadership debuff of the Burning Head can help do that. You can set vampire units to crumbling, and just in general I think it has some pretty good utility. So yeah, I would definitely recommend either the Shadow or the Fire Balefiend with the spell loadouts I've shown here. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Very well played to Indie Pride, of course. He recently casted, we played a whole bunch of games, so if you want to see some of the other games that we played, I believe he casted one where he beat me with Dark Elves versus Empire using the Regiment of Renowned Cold One Dread Knights. Super fun game, so definitely go check that out. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, all that jazz, and we'll see you guys next time.